Dr. Phil was his gay porn name, but he spelled it with an F. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice because the minute you get it on, man. Thanks for tuning in. We love that about you. Alonzo Bodden in studio. Good to see you, my friend.
What's up, my friend? Good to see you.
Just thinking about you today because my daughter told me the coolant light has been on in her car. And then she did this one where she's like, oh, it's been on for forever. I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad.
Well, yeah, then it doesn't matter.
There's no... You know what? I wish women could ignore snoring like they ignore warning lights on a dash. A little bit of that. Because every woman I've met has been able to ignore lights on her dashboard for years, can't tolerate 10 seconds of snoring.
Well, it's...
Which is it, bitches?
Every light on your dash is a thingy.
Right.
The little thingy lit up, and you're like, what does that mean? You know, that's the universal noun for everything. It's a thingy. The thingy's broken.
I know. I had a friend when I was younger Janie, who just drove a cabriolet VW Rabbit, just literally seized the engine because the low oil light had been on for 4 years. You know what I mean? Like they just take their little mental ripe sticker and put it right over the top of that shit.
It's funny you mentioned Volkswagen because my brother's first wife had a Volkswagen Jetta 4 years, and then she took it in for an oil change, and she was like, no, she took it in for something else, and they asked about, and she said, you're supposed to change it? And I thought that was a remarkable statement for Volkswagen, that you could drive this Jetta for 4 years without an oil change, without adding any oil, and it ran fine. That's
So she has had this coolant light going off, and you know, it's also weird when you're talking to people when you speak the shorthand. I said, well, listen, we got to get the coolant in here because the thing could overheat and you could blow up the engine. And she goes, blow up. And I go, no, I mean like blow a head gasket or warp a head or something like that. But so she explains to me that it's my job this morning to pop the hood and you know, fix it.
It actually is.
It is.
Yeah.
So I said, fine. I popped the hood, and this has happened to me a lot. You pop the hood, she has 2 vents, filters on either side of the engine for the heating and the air system. Both of them completely covered in leaves. More leaves under the hood than are on the goddamn tree. Like, I don't know how many leaves can get under that hood. I mean, it looked like you popped the hood and some gardener with a leaf blower and just a fresh sack of leaves, just literally, like, I don't...
That's what they're stashing them.
I guess you park under a tree, and over the course of a year and a half, everything that hits the windshield slides down and makes its way. But I'm telling you, people, pop your hood once a month and clean that shit off. Every cubic inch of air that is breathed inside that cabin must pass through a metric ton of leaves before it gets to your lungs.
So I just read a thing, and it said that high school should have a class called Life.
Yes.
And it teaches you to, like, sew on a button, change a flat tire, check your oil.
Yeah.
The kind of things that, honestly, like, nobody could, like, I think there's some guy on YouTube that has a channel for kids with single mothers, stuff your dad teaches, and it's like basic stuff on your cars, stuff you'd learn from your dad, you know, back in the day or whatever. And it's a good idea. Yeah. There's no, you know, I've said for years, like, it started with me with BMW. If you open the hood on a BMW, it just says none of your business.
Right.
Like, there's nothing you could do under there anymore. I think that's part of why people don't open the hood, because they don't even have a dipstick anymore, right? You check your oil through a light in the dash.
My dad, 15 years ago, had an Audi, like, A4 or something. And he came up to me and he did I tried to put oil in, but I don't know how to check, or I don't know where the dipstick is. I said, get out of the way, old man. What the fuck are you talking about? He goes, there's no dipstick. I go, no, I'll tell you the dipstick in this equation. It's you. Now pop the hood and get out of the way. And I remember just like staring at it, just going, Where's the dipstick? There is no. Listen, there should be a dipstick, even if it's symbolic, because everybody should experience the grace of pulling that thing out, looking at it, sniffing it. I don't know why I always give it a sniff, checking it out, and then making some comment.
Yeah, also the joy of the light hitting it a certain way. So you're like, wait a minute, is that oil?
Yeah.
Or did that drip on there?
Yeah, they don't want you mussing around anymore. But I was able to add fluid to the car, but I just left the hood up, and I told her, you got to get those leaves out of there, because it is insane. And I'm just telling everyone, go out, pop your hood, and take a look at what's under it. You will be appalled. You will find rat droppings. You will find insulation that's been chewed away by vermin.
And
you will
pine
find
needles.
leaves and pine needles. You might find a nest of some kind. You will be revolted. It's essential that you've just been driving that way for the last year. It's sort of like walking. It's like you eat at a restaurant for a year, and at some point you walk through the kitchen and you see what's really going on, and you go, "Oh God, I've been living with this." That's what it'll be. Pop that hood.
Yeah, there's who knows what under there.
Yeah, I know what. Everything.
Well, now you do.
Everything.
Now you
yeah.
do.
That's cool.
And
right.
it is somehow your responsibility, by the way.
Listen, I don't mind dad stuff because I'm good at it, and it's the only time I get to shine. Because I don't shine in all the other dad departments, but I actually look forward when my daughter goes, I got this mirror, can you hang it up? Get out of the way. I got my impact gun, I got my drill, I got my 18 volt, this and that. I don't know if I can use my finger to find the stud.
Right.
Tap, 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 tap. I love dad shit.
I don't have kids, but a friend of mine, good friend who I grew up with, his daughter started dating a guy who grew up, his parents owned a hardware store. So he knew how to do everything, and he couldn't stand it because she didn't need dad anymore. Because her boyfriend grew up, handyman family, could do anything. And he was like, yeah, I don't like this guy. And we were like, no, you don't like the fact that she goes to him first.
You're right.
But she still come to dad for money, so dad still had that.
So you're, by the way, Alonzo's got dates all over the place. Hilarities in Cleveland, March 7th through the 9th, and then the Den Theater. That'll be in Chicago. Coming up March 21st, San Francisco at Cobb's. Beautiful, historic Cobb's.
Love that place.
It's a great club. It's got real bones. That's Cobb's Comedy Club. That's coming up March 27th. AlonzoBodden.com is where you go. So I was just in Vegas, and I love Vegas. I think I'm going to move to Vegas. I know you're thinking about it or just underway.
I am more than thinking about it. I am. The process has come to a grinding halt. So last summer I was working in Vegas, and I said, let me get an Airbnb rather than stay on the Strip. Bring the dog, hang out. And it was relaxing. Like I liked it. And there's a ton of parks there, and there's all this stuff. When you get away from the Strip, I said, let me look around. Maybe I could live here. Looked around, got a realtor, blah blah blah. Find a house, great house. In Summerlin, new construction.
I think Michael Yo's in Summerlin.
Yeah, he
I
is.
was just doing shows with him in Vegas.
Don't say that out loud. I don't want him coming to my house. I don't want him knowing that I'm.
Well, there goes the neighborhood again.
So, they built the house, the inspection, everything's done. I am going through the closing process. Now, mind you, I told him up front, look, I'm a comic. I travel all the time. Giving my business manager power of attorney. She does all the financial stuff, and I'm not home. It's how we live, right? So now we're in the closing phase. Everything we've given them, they're asking about again. Why do you need a power of attorney? Well, the same reason I needed one back when you notarized, your company notarized the power of attorney for them. And they're going through line by line the income. And it is the latest one, what did they say? They needed me to call them so that they could be authorized to check my American Express statement, not my credit rate, my specifically American Express. And then they call, and I have to be on the call while they call American Express so I can give American Express the okay.
Right.
It is utterly, and then American Express is like, Yeah, he pays his bill. I mean, what do you want? This is the bill amount, and it's the same thing on your statement, right? This is the monthly bill, and this is the balance.
Yeah.
What is? I'm just like, I don't understand the logic. I'm not a bad guy. I make this much income. I paid all my bills for this many years. I paid my mortgage. What? I don't know what else to give them.
There is no okay. I can shine some light on this, Alonzo.
Help me.
Okay, I've been saying for a long time there is no more good credit. There's just bad credit and you. But there's no good credit, So I grew up watching shows like the Beverly Hillbillies, and Mr. Drysdale was their banker.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Remember him. I remember
him. If Jed Clampett went to him and went like, we're thinking about putting in a new cement pond in the backyard, Mr. Drysdale would be like, oh, okay, I'll get that going right away. They wouldn't be like, let me check your FICO score, and here's a shitload of paperwork to fill out. You could earn, here's what it is. It's a relationship and earning some good grace. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just in a liquor store the other day, right? And I know they don't let customers use the bathroom because they'd have homeless people shooting up in there, But I just bought a $100 bottle of scotch, and I'm putting down a black American Express card, and I'm dressed nice, And so I say to the guy, could I use the bathroom? Because what I'm thinking of is I've earned a little of this. I'm buying an expensive bottle of scotch. You got the black card sitting here, and I'm wearing a sweater. And he goes, no, the policy is we don't, whatever. And the policy should always be fluid. And I have bought literally millions of dollars in real estate and commercial real estate over the years. Literally millions of dollars. I've never really sat down and tallied how many houses, how many warehouses, how many condos, how much commercial property, how much residential. But it would get into a $50 million range. Have never been late on a payment, have never defaulted, have never declared bankruptcy, have never been upside down on any of the properties, nothing. When I go in and I go, hey, I want to get this warehouse or whatever, and they go, yeah, well, it's 20% down payment, and I go, cash a little tight right now. How about 10%? They go, it's 20%. And it's 20% for me, it's 20% for Byron over there, who hasn't purchased a Huffy as an adult. There is no difference between him and me. There's none of the $50 million worth of stuff. There's none of the history. There's nothing. It's all the exact procedure. This is what happens. Every year there's a new rule, and sometimes they'll apologize. Sometimes they'll just go, sorry, but there's a regulation. Everybody's gotta do this.
I don't mind that, and I get that. But this is just, it's like we did it with one person in your company. Now, why am I doing it with another person in your company? What if you were to go down the hall, hey, Betty, what if you went down the hall and asked Joe for all of this information that I already gave him? And I get what you're saying, but it does become so frustrating to call it because the house is done. The house is built. The house is sitting there empty. 2,100. I'm downsizing. I'm going smaller, small yard, no more, clearing brush and all the stuff that goes with the house
2,100 with a high ceiling.
Yeah,
is good.
He needs that. Have you seen his
dog? You
need
the high ceiling. The dog and Alonzo need the high ceiling.
Yeah, we need the high. No, we're good. Listen, he's like, when are we moving? Dog
yeah.
So, you talk about that goodwill. Now, I go to pet food place. I always go to the same place. Hulk, my Great Dane. Hulk tears through toys in a day. Well, I got him this one toy, tore through it literally in minutes. Like the first bite, So I took it back. Normally I just don't care, but this time I took it back. And the clerk's like, well, I don't know if you could return this. And he went to the manager, and the manager said, look, the amount of money he spends a month on dog food, he can return anything to this store.
Yes. But
he can bring and that's what you're talking about when they know you.
We're talking about a relationship. Yeah. We're talking about America as it sort of used to be. We're talking about you going into a diner that you eat at all the time, and at some point you go in there and you go, oh, shit, I've left my wallet at home. And they go, yeah, you go for it. That's all. Just the relationship.
Those things are hard to find. Like where I live now, I live in Woodland Hills. I never found a joint to have breakfast. You know what I mean? Just a joint you go to all the time. And just like you said, like you come in and they're like, hey, how you doing? Sit over here or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
It's like I never found a place that I connected to like that.
It's less and less, and it's kind of our fault because there used to be a lot of hardware stores, like you mentioned. There used to be a lot of lumber stores, like Ma and Pa. Like when I started off in the business, we didn't go to Home Depot because there wasn't a Home Depot. You'd go to Anawalt Lumber, you'd go to like McConkey Lumber, you'd go to Topanga Lumber, and there'd be some dude with salt and pepper in his beard behind the thing there, and you'd be talking to him about stuff, and he'd go, you could go with a redwood bottom plate, but go with a treated bottom plate. It's going to be cheaper per board foot. That's what I would do. The guy knew something, had some ability, some skills, and that guy made a living. You know what I mean? He got paid enough to own a medium-sized house in Reseda, you know? Now, we've all decided that we don't want to pay $47 for a piece of plywood. We want to pay $34 for a piece of plywood. And we want to go to Home Depot. And then we go to Home Depot and we go, these guys don't know shit here. I didn't talk to a guy who didn't know the difference between CDX good one side and shop. You know, CDX, it's like, yeah, because he gets $11 an hour and he's 19.
Yeah.
That's right. You want the guy with some expertise, but you don't want to pay what it would cost at the lumber yard, and it's gone, or the hardware store. That's gone. And the diners, the hardware stores, the lumber yards, they're all going the way of the dodo. Costco and their $1.50 hot dog has moved in, and it's all because we want to save a nickel, which is fine, but it's the same thing with Southwest. Like, I flew Southwest, man, the seats are so tight. Yeah, because you want to go to Portland for $60.
Right.
That's why. It's your fault.
I'm a big believer in the hardware store. Last 2 places I lived, I had the local hardware store. Always my first stop, because just what you said, there's a guy there, there's a woman, there's someone there who knows how to fix things. Yes. And you're like, this doesn't work. What do I need? And then if you buy something and it doesn't work, you could bring it back and they'd be like, oh, that one didn't fit. Try this one or whatever. Yeah, Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, they're my last stop. The only advantage they have is they have so much stock that they can find. You can find that one odd bolt or screw or thing you need, but otherwise.
You know what always cracks me up? If you're like with a woman and they're like, oh, we need a new valve for the toilet or whatever, and they go, oh, you go, okay, I'll go down to Home Depot and look, and they go, well, let me call them. I go, no, what? Now I'm going to call Home Depot and see if they have it. Well, who is that? American Standard? Was that a ball? I go, no, don't call them. They go, why can't I call them? I'll just call them and ask them. You're not going to get anybody. No. You're not going to get English. You're going to be put on hold. You're not going to get anyone from that department. No one's going to know what the fuck you're talking about. It's going to be much faster for me to get my car and go over there and see if they have it and come back than it would be for you to call them. I love the naive call. The naive call.
We'll just ask them.
When you make that phone call, like it should, by the time it gets to press 5, it should be press 5. You still here?
Right.
You haven't caught the hint yet.
Yeah, you know which way the wind's blowing, son? All right, well, let me talk to you about 21 Savage, the rapper. And I don't know, Alonzo, how. I assume you got to know more about rap than me, but I don't know how much.
Just performed on SNL.
I was watching SNL, and I have an obsession. It's really the top of the mountain for me is DJ Khaled. So I'm obsessed with people who don't work and get paid a lot of money. And that's kind of the American dream. Like, I remember years ago when Opie and Anthony in New York got fired or suspended or whatever. And I remember going, I was talking to Jimmy about it, and I go, what do they have left on their contracts? Like 2.5 years or something? I go, oh, they're going to get paid. They were getting millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, they're getting paid tons, you know. Stay home for 2.5 years? And Jimmy's like, yeah, it's a damn shame or whatever. I go, damn shame. That's the best thing I ever. It's what I pray for. Yeah, I would love to stay home and get paid. And so when I see DJ Khaled get up there and have everyone work around him, and then he just points at the ceiling, yell, "We the best," and then gets paid more than everyone,
he yells DJ Khaled first,
right?
So you know who's the best.
And I go, "Oh, this guy's the best." I go, "This guy's the smartest guy in the world." And when I watch rappers on SNL, I realize they're doing the least amount of the work on the stage. There's somebody dancing. There's some chick who can actually sing, who's singing. There's somebody playing an instrument, and they're doing the least, even though it's their name on the marquee and they're getting paid the most. So we'll play the second song first. And I also like it at some point when the chick who can sing ends up singing a lot more than he talks, even.
Right.
And I wish there was some version of this in comedy.
So this is a should have wore a bonnet / prove it.
All right.
Once again, 21 Savage.
Shane Gillis. Like / prove it.
Oh, she'll come in on this one?
I think.
All right, so far we got a guy who can singing. Now look, there are 5 people on stage. There's only one job I could do on this stage, and that's 21 Savage's job. Like if you said to me, we've all had those dreams where you get pushed out on stage and there's a guitar and you can't play the guitar or whatever. But if someone said to me, listen, you got to do what 21 Savage does tomorrow during the taping, I'd be like, yeah, I could do that. I couldn't learn to play the drums overnight or the
so all
keyboards.
these people just perform around me.
Yeah. All right, then the chick will start.
Summer Walker will come on later.
Oh, so
this is like a
so I had a dude singing the
medley.
beginning part of the song.
Yeah.
All right, and then the
right.
Where'd you?
So he's rapping though. He's rapping.
Why?
Here she is.
21 Savage.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, here she is. Okay.
Yeah, he's rapping, but you can go back to her showing up.
Let me tell you
But
something.
he's not
I
rapping with a
just
lot of
looked at her.
gusto.
I just looked at her, and I don't care what she's singing.
Yeah.
She might be off key or something. I didn't hear it. I don't know.
If they just respect me, then it's come to an end. If they try to play with me, you know that you don't sin. 'Cause baby,
But this is still his song.
Yes.
Yeah.
how much I do love you, how much I do trust. I pray these hoes don't make me have to.
She's wearing a really hot orange bath rug.
Yeah.
I told you why you keep looking for closure.
Nah, this is a duet. She sings and he raps.
He talks.
It's a good.
Yeah.
I mean, I get.
I don't.
I get what
I've
you're
heard
saying.
rap. I've heard rap
get
where I
what you're
went,
saying,
I
but
couldn't
I've
do
seen
it.
I've
But
seen
this
it much
could be
worse
done.
than
Really?
this. Yeah, much worse. Like Diddy. You ever see Diddy? Diddy does. What does Diddy do? Diddy walks the stage
He's like a little more
and
lackadaisical.
drops one line, but he's the producer.
I like that she. I like that she finishes this song too.
You know you my baby, know you my twin. If they disrespect me, then I'm coming to an end. If they try to play with me, you know that
I think you don't think he's doing it as much because it's very monotone. He's just doing one note, da 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 da,
Yes,
like the whole
yes.
time.
I feel like Jeff Ross could do this.
Maybe, but that's his style though. That is one thing.
I get
that's
it.
His style. His style
No,
is
I know.
obviously low energy. I'm gonna rap. I'm just gonna talk. I'm gonna rap, and then she's gonna sing. But when it comes to rap with a full band, I don't even know who started. I know Jay-Z was doing it a long time ago. He's one of the
She's
first.
not even. He just lets her finish the.
Yeah.
He's just hanging out.
He's just standing there now. I mean, if you went percentage of vocals in that song, yeah, he would probably have the least.
Yeah. But that's
Listen, I'm jealous. That's all. That's
We
all.
all are.
That is the music game, though. There's so many people in music. Like, if you're the producer, you get all the money. You know, you did the work in the studio, but now when they perform it or whatever. But I'll tell you the rap job you want, the hype man. The hype man.
Yeah.
Right now, see, you could have a hype man right now, and all he'd be, Adam, you the man. You the man, Adam. You the man, and that's all my job is.
Let's try
Every now
this.
and then you
Could you
might
be Adam's
forget.
hype man?
You
Do
might
a little
forget
hype for me.
You be, Adam, you the man.
Man, what's going on with all these car hoods and leaves?
Adam, the man.
I popped that thing, looked like the National Forest under there.
Yo, Adam's it. See,
Squirrels dropping leaves everywhere, bro. Yeah, I could use that.
The hype man.
No, I listen. I love it because it's the exact opposite of my mom. My mom would stand there and go, "Huh?" And I'd go, "You know the commercial with the guy and the thing?" And she'd go, "I don't know what that is." And I'd go, "Why is it every time I'm running late, someone's driving slow in front of me in the left lane?" That's probably not true all the time. It just feels that way because you're okay.
I love it.
My mom would have been the worst hype man on the planet.
Mrs. Carolla, anti-hype.
My dad would be bad because my dad wouldn't be listening. You know, you'd be talking and he'd be like, "Huh? What? Dad, hype. Huh? Oh, what were you saying?" Like, my dad wouldn't know, but my mom would just shoot holes in whatever the hype was.
In a rap game, in music, but definitely in rap, it's about being a producer, right? Remember, you had Suge Knight, right, who made all that money off NWA and Dr. Dre and stuff. So what did Dr. Dre do? Dr. Dre found Eminem, right, and made a ton of money producing Eminem. What did Eminem do? Eminem found 50 Cent, made a ton of money off 50. Like you learn, it's about producing because that's the person that gets paid over and over. Like the performer gets one shot. The producer gets paid over and over. Like,
right.
Let me ask,
Writers too.
Let me ask you this. Speaking of Black history, I was watching Poor Things in the movie theater, the Emma Stone movie.
Nominated for a lot.
Yeah,
She might be in the lead now for Best Actress.
I do not recommend this movie.
Oh.
Long and weird and not a lot. I mean, interesting, but wouldn't call it a good movie. So you don't need to see it. The other thing, I as a heterosexual male, I got tired of seeing Emma Stone naked. That's how naked she was. From the first half, nothing. At some point, it was just her nude and then nude again and then nude a third time, and it got to like a 25th time, and I couldn't.
You got fatigue.
I got fatigue. I got nipple fatigue. So it's weird that no one's really talking about it. They're just going, "Oh, it's a weird." The guy who wrote that movie and put her in that movie, whoever, is a fucked up weird dude, and she was doing fucked up weird shit. And if it was any kind of glimpse into the mind of what's his name, the Greek guy, he needs some therapy. So anyway. Weird movie, interesting movie. You don't need to see it. But here's what I was saying. I saw Napoleon earlier in the year, right? And everybody was doing their sort of default English accent. It's the same one they do in outer space.
Right.
You know, it's like we have to speak in a different accent than if you're from Nebraska. So we'll just do this English thing and it'll sort of be a catch-all for everything.
Sure.
But not Joaquin Phoenix. He just spoke in his voice. Everyone else around him did. So this movie has everyone doing a weird thing. So Willem Dafoe is doing what I would consider Hungarian because I grew up with a Hungarian grandfather and it's a weird accent. And I don't know if he knew it, but he was doing, might be able to get a little thing of Willem Dafoe. And Ruffalo was doing, like, everyone was doing a thing. She was doing a thing. He was doing a thing. Everyone was doing a thing. And then Gerard Carmichael showed up in the middle of it, and he just did nothing. He just did Gerard. And I'm like, look, we gotta make some rules here. It's Napoleon, you got to speak this way, or nobody speak this way. But we can't have someone just show up in the middle and just speak in their regular speaking voice. He just did Gerard. And then everyone else was doing their English thing around him, or Hungarian, or whatever it was. And then they went back. He left at some point. And they just went back to their crazy accents. Is it weird, or does things need to be worked out or discussed?
I love how he prefaces with "Back to Black History" because I don't know what this has to do with that.
Well,
no,
Gerard's
I know. I'm messing with you. Mm-hmm. I don't know when it comes to acting, right? I never know. Did the actor make that choice, or did the director ask him to do that? Mm-hmm. Or did the actor do something and the director was afraid because of the actor's name or fame or whatever to say, no, that's ridiculous in this, in this moment or in this context, or why are you talking that way or whatever. So Gerard doesn't seem to me like the type that is going to just say, you know what, today I have a British accent. Like
He certainly isn't.
not that guy.
He's 100% not that guy. I'm here to tell you.
So even if you told him, he'd be like, okay, and then just keep talking like Gerard,
He spoke like Gerard in the middle of a movie where everyone had a fake accent.
Right. So
Yeah.
I'm seeing that Willem Dafoe's character is kind of Scottish, like a wavering Scottish accent, because the guy who wrote the book, I think, or the character that's based off his name is Alasdair Gray. And Willem looked at old footage of him speaking and was like trying to copy that.
It is a little Scottish, but it also feels a little Hungarian.
Well,
But
it's-
everyone should be consistent, though. If they're gonna,
it's
if they're
funny
going
when they
accent.
do an accent and then they forget it. Like
Oh,
they
right.
forget to do it, and the accent just kind of tapers off and then comes back, and you're like, wait a minute, didn't you have an accent? I'll tell you what fascinates me more, particularly with black actors, because I think it's less expected, when British black actors, they do an amazing American, like Idris Elba.
Yeah.
He sounds like he's from DC
Detroit.
Yeah,
or from
can't
Detroit
tell.
or something like that. Then he talks, and you're like, wait a minute, what? That's
Yes.
fascinating
Impressive.
to me because their natural accent is so strong, and they completely eliminate, and they never slip. They never slip out of character.
No.
And start, speaking with a British accent.
Yeah, they're better at American
That-
accents than Americans doing English accents.
Right.
All right, one more thing, not to do with Black History Month.
Oh.
Now I'm getting to the whitest man
Well,
in the
last
world.
thing, 21
Yes.
Savage, also British.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he was raised in Atlanta, but born in London,
Oh.
considered a British rapper.
Well, see, maybe that's it. Maybe he was like trying to not do the accent. Maybe he
He did
had
a
to go
fine
low
job.
key, or else the accent came out.
So, Mike August, we all know Mike August. And Mike August, I like Mike, but Mike picks weird takes sometimes and runs them into the ground. We all know. We all have that friend that picks like they pull like just a weird take. They'll go like, oh man, don't you hate watermelon? Or something. You go, no, I love water. Everyone loves
They
it.
hate watermelon, but it's not because of the seeds.
A lot of
it's
people
because
don't.
it's
A
red.
lot of people don't. Or something. You go, that's just that's weird. And I don't know why you think people will agree with you. All right.
I had a
So,
friend in high school who's like, I like getting sick.
you really?
Yeah.
Well, if it's to miss something, then I'm with him.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, well, then that's fucked up.
Yeah.
So, Jim Gaffigan's a very funny comedian, nice guy, and he's very skilled.
Yeah.
He puts his jokes together, and then he gets out there.
Gaffigan's a true stand-up.
He's a true stand-up.
Like there's no gimmicks, no act outs.
Right.
He could stand in front of a microphone and talk and make you laugh.
Right.
Great
And
comedy.
I think we got a minute of it, but just to set the table in case you don't know Jim Gaffigan. So we'll play.
I did have an opportunity to go on a safari, which was unbelievable. It was breathtaking how bad the Wi-Fi was. I had my appendix removed in Alaska. That's not why I went there. I was on vacation with my family, and I had this sharp pain in my abdomen. And since I'm a genius, my first thought was, oh, I pulled a muscle in my stomach. You do learn things from those genetic tests. Like I discovered I wasted $100.
All right, so we get it. So, all right. So Mike and I always laugh at the comedians. We don't laugh at them, but there's comedians up there that don't really have a lot of material, but they got a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And I won't call any names, but they'll be screaming, wash that ass, over and over again as loud as they can. And I always think, like, what does that look like when you're writing the material? Or like if I was reading the material, just you screaming, wash that ass, wash that ass, wash that ass. And he'll go, and he's produced, he's seen every comedian. And Mike will always go, yeah, I know, like Jim Gaffigan. And then I go, no, not like Jim Gaffigan. Jim Gaffigan has jokes, and he'll be like, he doesn't have jokes, And I go, I've heard 1,000 hours of Jim Gaffigan. He just makes jokes, And he'll go, listen. I go, listen. I'm talking about comedians who get up there. They're all energy, but they got no jokes, and they're just screaming, wash that ass, like over and over again. I go, I know, like Jim Gaffigan. And I go, not Jim Gaffigan.
Gaffigan is pure joke.
All he does is
I always thought Gaffigan was the wash that ass guy. He was famous for wash that ass.
So
that one.
I'm like, Mike, why do you keep saying this? Because he says he produced him once on Kimmel, and and that Gaffigan said, look, instead of running 5 minutes or whatever, you just pick whatever 5 minutes you want. I'll do the 5 minutes. But he cites that as an example for him not having material. And I'm like, no, it just means he has a bunch of material, and then he doesn't want to go back and forth 100 times. You just pick it, and he'll do it. But that's a weirard take, right?
Yes.
That's a ridiculous take.
From a guy,
you know what it makes me think
by
of?
the way, it's the fourth time it's come up. Every time I yell, "Wash that ass," he yells just like Jim Gaffigan. I go, he has jokes. Why? Also, you're blowing up my premise because you're including a guy who writes jokes in my example of people that don't write.
He's not
jokes.
trolling you. He's not messing with you.
No, well, he is messing with me. Yeah, he's always
That
messing with me,
purposely.
but not purposely.
Makes me think of Tom Papa as a high energy guy.
Right, right. Yeah,
You
watch
know, with
Tom Papa
Right.
yell, "Wash that ass."
Tom
Yeah, they're
Papa.
like hype men.
There are comics who have funny material, right? But then there are some comics who make their material funny. And I sometimes wonder what that joke's like written, because the whole funny is in the act out.
Yes.
I'm like, do they act out this way? Like, I don't know. I know some comics who do it, and I love that because it's opposite. I like comics who do opposite what I do.
If you read the
know?
transcript, you would be confused.
Right. You'd be like, why did they laugh just now? But it's
Right.
because like years ago, me and Dane Cook used to work together a lot. And this is when a lot of people were doing Dane. This is when Dane's super famous. And they, they talked. I said, if I jumped around and ran on stage with Dane's energy, it would scare the hell out of the front row.
Yes.
Like, can you imagine a guy my size having that kind of energy?
We
It
feel
would-
that way every time you bring your dog to the
There
studio.
you go. There you go. You're like, watch out. Here
it comes.
He's got, yeah. So there are different types of comics, but yeah, I don't know about. I've never heard Gaffigan described as a no material, high energy guy.
He doesn't say he yells, "Wash that ass," and he doesn't say it's all energy. He just goes, he doesn't have jokes. And I go, but that's all he has is jokes.
Tons
and he
of
goes,
jokes.
that's all he doesn't write jokes. And I go, he just stands there and tells jokes. Listen, listen, there's no way I thought I'd have this many conversations that were of this nature as an adult. There's just no way. I have insane, impossible conversations with people all day, every day. And if I knew this, I would have killed myself on my 11th birthday. I had no fucking idea that I would spend my adult life having insane conversations with adults. I just didn't know it. I wasn't prepared.
There's some conversations where you just got to let it go.
I let it go.
You can't, because it's not going to change, right? You're not going to change their mind. You're not going to,
No.
whatever. So you're just like,
Yes.
okay, well, I'm going to just walk away.
Anybody who's
right
been
now.
in a relationship with a woman understands that as right as you may be and as sane as you may be, just gotta let it go.
Yeah. There's times when I don't even know if you lost. You just stop.
Yeah. You just stop.
You just stop. You didn't necessarily.
And it becomes what it is it becomes a bad. Your brother-in-law goes, if you want to invest in these pinball machines, and I'll put them at all the arcades, and you can make a lot of money. And at some point, after getting nothing back on your return, after about 4 years, you just stop giving him money. You're not even at the point where you want to ask for the money he owes you back. You just cut bait. And that's what you have to do with these.
This guy was trying to explain NFTs to me.
Yeah.
And I just said, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You may have made some money in this or something. Like, okay, I can't
either.
I do not understand
The
what's going
NFT may be the digital version of the pet rock. Somebody sold millions of units of a pet rock. It was called a pet rock.
Right.
And it swept over the nation like the Hustle and the Bay City Rollers and anything else that would sweep over a nation. The pet rock swept this nation. Millions of units were sold. And we're going to look back on it one day the same way we look at NFTs. Well, you'll go, I'll be talking to my grandchildren, and they'll go, why would someone buy a picture of a demented clown? And I just go, I don't
No, they're
know
not,
because
but it's
somebody
not even
did
a
it before
picture.
them.
It's the digital. That's the thing.
Whatever.
It's not even a picture. It's just a digital image of it.
Right.
It's like a screensaver, and I don't get it. I mean, with the pet rock, at least I think we were all in on the joke. I think we all knew that this is stupid and funny, and that's
My
why
Pet
we
Rock
did
is
it.
a rescue.
But
People bought a pet
absolutely.
rock. All right, let's. That'd be a decent rap name for me, Pet Rock. We'll take
a lot of rap names.
Take a quick break. Well, we all know mayonnaise with a Z is.
It's fitting.
Yeah, with a Z, white. All right, take a break. Come back with Alonzo. Do some news right after this. Let me tell you about Morgan & Morgan. It's 2024, so let's talk about something important. If you get hurt this year, your injury could be worth millions of dollars. If you're injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, over 100 offices nationwide, and more than 1,000 lawyers, more than $20 billion recovered for 500,000 plus clients. Morgan & Morgan has a proven track record of fighting to get you your full and fair compensation. They've been fighting for the people for over 35 years. Racing my vintage cars, that can be a little hard, or at least I make it look hard. Submitting an injury claim with Morgan & Morgan is super easy. It's Morgan & Morgan. Am I right, Dawson?
If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/Adam or dial #law, #529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/Adam or #law, #529 from your cell. This is a paid advertisement.
And then Karen go, oh, don't call me Karen. Don't call me Karen. Calling me Karen is like using the N-word. It's like, slow down, Karen. I don't know. Your little inconvenience might not have the same impact as slavery. I'll tell you the difference between saying the word Karen and saying the word nigga. I just said Karen 15 times, and not once did I look over my shoulder to see if there was a Karen around. Ain't nobody saying nigga without checking for niggas first. You be looking under the table, behind the curtains and shit. Right? Also, Karen is a real name. There are women named Karen. Now, I'll be the first to admit, we as black people can be somewhat creative in naming our children. But I promise you, there ain't no little black kid running around actually named nigga, all right? Who's that? Oh, that little nigga Robinson over there. Pretty fast. I heard he might go pro. I don't know.
Alonzo Bodden on the Adam Carolla Show.
Alonzo's got dates everywhere. AlonzoBodden.com is where you go. Also, one more Mike August story.
Yes.
Those love. I'm endlessly obsessed with people who have conversations with me and we're not. My saying famously is when people get confused, were you talking about the other? I go, I'll always be talking about what we're talking about, because people go, like you go, Monday, Alonzo Bodden's coming in, and then Tuesday, Dr. Phil's coming in, and they'll go, and then you go back and you go, so Monday, and they'll go, well, wait a minute. Are you talking about Dr. Phil now? And I'll go, no, I'm talking about Monday. Like, I'm talking about what we're talking about, and people shift.
Right, or you would say, like, oh, so Phil is coming in, and I'd be like, oh, Phil Lamar?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Well, I think what people do is you'll go, here's what it'll be. Be like, look, you'll go, my son is a good boy. My son is a good student. And then I'll go, but sometimes he's a little lazy. And they'll go, who? I'll go like, we didn't define that we're talking about. Yeah, but you said he. I don't know what you're talking about.
Anybody.
Like, yeah, okay. We didn't start the conversation right there. I was using the kid's name and saying my son before that, but then I said he. People get confused, and so we're sitting around. It's the second show So, John Caparulo?
Yeah.
The comedian?
Yeah, I know Cap.
Yeah, good dude. He opens in Vegas on the first show, right? But when he's done with his 15 minutes, and so we had a weird thing. We had Michael Yo open the first show, did 15. Then John did 15. Now, John, I mean, he's been knocking around for 25 years doing stand-up. I mean, seasoned veteran.
Sure.
And he plays that club all the time. I mean, I could remember seeing him on TV when I'm.
Oh, yeah. Cap's been around.
Back in the day. So Michael Yo does the first show. But then Michael's like, I can't do the second show. I said, all right, well, we'll just have Cap do it. And it's fine. Cap finishes his set in the early show and like leaves through the audience or something. Doesn't come back stage or anything, just leaves. I mean, he lives in Vegas. That's his theater. That's his club. I don't know. He knows where he's going, but he goes. But he doesn't come back and say, like, I'll see you guys. What time we going on the second show, or how much time do you want? Michael Yo's not around. So Mike August and I are just sort of backstage. And I go, the second show starts at 9:30. It's now 9:15, and we've not seen John Cap at all.
Because he thinks he's going on at 9:45.
I don't know what he thinks, but we don't know where he is, and we have not had any contact with him.
No Cap, there's no Cap.
No Cap. I think he may have walked off and kept walking. I don't know what's going on.
He's had enough of this shit.
So I'm sitting there, and Mike and I are trying to weigh it out. So Michael Yo's not around. Oh, the MC never showed up. The MC never showed up. Michael Yo is not there for the second show, and Caparulo, I should say, is not there, and it's 15 minutes before the show starts, right? Sure. So I'm sitting there, and I go, well, Mike, I don't know who's bringing, if John doesn't show up, I'll just do an hour and a half, but I don't know who's going to bring me up or whatever. And he's like, John should show up, and I go, well, I mean, we're gonna find out in 15 minutes. And he goes, oh, he's got more than 15 minutes. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, he can do more than 15. I go, yeah. No, I know he can do more than 15 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, he's been doing comedy for 25 years, Mike. I imagine he's got more than 15. Well, why'd you say? I said, no. I said, we're going to find out in 15 minutes if he's here or not.
But he has more than 15
But it's more than, but he could do more time. I go, yeah, he could do 2 hours. Okay, but it's interesting that you thought I was asking
2 hours.
So you know what I say to people when that happens? Who's on first?
Yes, that's
because
what
that's
I
total who's on first
happens.
moment where you're like, are you listening to what I'm saying? And they're answering something else.
By the way, the whole discussion is where's John? Where's John? Not how much time can John do. John can do an hour drunk standing on his head. I'm sure of it. And I don't need
you can do longer than an hour.
I don't need him to do more than 15. I just need him to show up and walk out there.
So
before
how much time
me.
did Michael Yo do?
All right. Now the news.
Okay, so Cam Newton.
Oh yeah,
He was involved in a scuffle during a 7-on-7 football game in Atlanta on Sunday. So he was one of the coaches of the team. Mm-hmm. And I guess, according to the other coaches, they're like, dude talks a lot of trash. Mm-hmm. Just yelling stuff at our kids, getting his team to yell stuff at our kids. And then
7-on-7.
Yeah, it's a 7-on-7 tournament. And then
that flag football or is it contact? I don't know what a 7-on-7. I mean, I know, when I was in high school, they had receivers and backs and linebackers and DBs, and they do like a passing scrimmage or something like that.
I think this is flag. It's kids football.
Yeah,
some kind of kids football.
There's an 18-year-old league and a 15-year-old league. So,
Well, someone figure it out.
Right. Well, someone figure it out. Anyway, so I guess he's talking enough smack that a couple of the coaches got into a fight with him. And there's video. You just play it on mute, but you'll see. Cam's the one wearing that witch hat.
Yeah.
At the top, but he's fighting a lot of guys at once. And I mean, people are saying don't mess with a pro athlete, even a former pro athlete, because he's handling himself pretty well. Yeah.
I mean,
but these coaches, they've had a history with him. They know him. Mm-hmm. So, but they're like, he was trying to bet like make bets with them, like, hey, let's bet our teams. I got so much money. Money's on a thing with me. Let's bet. And that they don't want to do it. It's basically calling him a coward. And so they've had enough of his shit, according to the coaches. And it just led to this.
Yeah, I saw him throwing a guy off stage, and I don't know if it kept going. At some point, he
police
gets
involved.
Well, he was on stage. The clip I saw is him throwing a guy.
Fight. Yeah.
Different fight from the same day?
No.
Different fight from a different time?
They might have different angles, too.
Yeah.
No. He was on stage, and he threw a guy.
Yeah, I think that was something different.
He was wearing the hat.
Mm. He's always wearing a hat.
He's always wearing a hat. No, that's true. He was wearing the volcano hat where his hair got pulled through it or whatever. Am I making this up? Check the tweets.
No, there's it might be from this too. Yeah, because
he's wearing the same thing. Yeah.
They're different angles, but we can find another one.
It's not the angle. It's a different situation. It's not Chris. No angle. He's on stage and he chucks a guy up there by his backpack. He throws him, which is good. Listen, he's a world class. I mean, he's not only he's 6'5", 6'6". He probably played at like 245, 255.
6'6", 245, and not just 6'6", 245, but a pro athlete, meaning he's trained all his life. Like when he's out of shape, he's in better shape than anyone you know. So if you attack a guy like that, you're going to get your ass whipped. That's all. You're going to get your ass whipped. And I don't know, there's no audio, right? So I don't know if he's talking smack before. But even if he wasn't the only one. It wasn't going one way.
Yeah.
He was talking, they were talking, and they thought it would be a good idea to run up on him, and he wasn't.
And also, he's not even old. He's like 34.
No, he's like, I could still be playing. Right? Because when he retired, it wasn't like he couldn't play anymore. It was just he was bouncing around and whatever. Also, somebody posted, they said, this is a guy who got hit by a dump truck, broke his back, and then ran for a touchdown a week later. You don't mess with that guy.
Right.
Anyone gets hit by a truck and gets up and let's play football, then you let him talk smack.
Right. So there's not a lot of information about what happened. They're trying to figure this out internally, but
and now they're all going to sue him. See that that's the next step, right? Because even though they attacked,
he said he had a lot of money.
They're damaged for life now.
Oh yeah,
I can never watch football again. Can I have $7 million?
Yeah, my neck. You can't really diagnose back and neck pain. If anyone could come up, we could save society billions of dollars every year. If some guy could come up with an actual wand, like at the airport, where you could drag it over someone's back and neck and go, your little fender bender at 4 miles an hour, you can go back to work Monday instead of because you just claim your back hurts. It's essentially a migraine. You just go, I got a migraine. I can't come into work. Nobody can actually quantify it or test it or figure it out.
Right.
These guys are all going to say back and neck, this, that, and the other, and then the traumatization part too. Right.
So Wendy Williams.
Yeah.
She has been diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia and aphasia, which aphasia is what Bruce Willis has.
Well, we should all be scared because Bruce Willis and Wendy Williams everyone falls in between those two.
Yeah.
All of us. There's nobody who's outside of that spectrum.
Right.
Every human being on the planet is somewhere between Bruce Willis and Wendy Williams. And if they can get this disease, then we can all get it because we're all somewhere in between those two.
And, with me, the scary thing with Wendy Williams is she's 59. Like, that's not old.
No.
When you start talking dementia, and it's not like she wasn't in a physical thing. Even with Bruce Willis, you might say, did he do any of his own stunts? Did he get banged around? Maybe he got hit in the head making a movie or something like that. Wendy Williams literally just sat down and talked. So, yeah, you're right. This just shows, these are the kind of things that show, man, live for today. Live for today.
Right.
You got no idea what might happen tomorrow. I had a friend, he hit 50, and he asked me, he said, what advice do you have? He said that time is short.
Yeah,
you're on the clock. Hit 50, you think you got, do it now. Do it now.
Yeah. So he raped that neighbor.
Hey,
He
listen,
raped that special needs kid.
I can't be
Because
responsible
now,
for that. I can't
because
be
Alonzo's
held
the wind
responsible.
beneath his wings. He'd been thinking about it, wrestling with it, but Alonzo gave him the green light.
This is why I'm not your hype man, Adam. This is why I can't hype you. You turn on me too quick.
Oh,
Wendy turned on me many years ago when I did her show in New York.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she. What did she do? She sent something
Okay.
out afterward?
yeah. So she used to do this like after show vlog.
Yeah.
And after your episode, we can play a little bit if you want to see just a.
You can just see me
couple seconds of
wearing
it.
a shirt.
New York Times bestselling author. His new book is called Not Taco Bell Material. Please welcome to our show, Adam Carolla.
Happy to have you on. There you are.
I was mentioned in that.
I'm wearing what I always wear, which is just some kind of button-up shirt and
Button-up
jeans.
shirt, jeans.
All right.
Black shoes. Okay,
and
so
black shoes. I'm wearing dress shoes.
shoes.
Okay.
Okay, so then after you're done, she posts on the internet an after show vlog where she says basically that you were like the worst sketch she's ever had. The way you dress was really insulting to her and the audience. And then they fast forwarded, they sped it up, and then we slowed it down to even hear more of the rant because it was a weird video. If you want to, we might have some of it if you want to hear. We have the audio of it.
She just attacked me. I showed up. I was funny,
I would say you were dressed on brand.
Yeah, I dressed that way for everything.
That would be like
Also-
like Leno showing up in a denim shirt and jeans,
Yeah.
and you saying he's underdressed. And it's
What are
like,
you supposed
he
to
wears
wear to
that
that?
every day.
That was perfectly
also
appropriate.
it's a daytime, morning time show. It's not, when you do Letterman, you might put a suit on. Although I did Letterman, I didn't put a suit on when I did Letterman. I wear jeans, decent shoes. In those cases, I remember those shoes. Those are boots. Those are like black zip up on the side boots.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just have a closet of long sleeve button up shirts that I leave. That's how I dress. Anyway, neither here nor there. Anyway, she tore into me.
Yeah.
For no good reason. And then I fired back. And then she sent me a bottle of champagne and said, sorry. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And that was that.
That was that.
Might have been just to stir it up, though. Stir up some beef, get some
I
publicity.
don't know.
No, she took down the video after all that too.
Yeah. So that was my only run-in with Wendy.
With Wendy Williams.
Yeah, but remember, try to squash that beef because you don't know what can happen to people.
Yeah.
I famously had, well, not a beef, but I went and did Toyota Grand Prix or whatever one of the times. I did it 5 times, but this is, I don't know, the 4th time I did it. And then I made a little fun of a guy named Carter Lay's shoes because he's the heir to the Lay's potato chip fortune, and he had like $500 driving shoes, but he wasn't
much of a driver.
Wasn't much of a driver, so I sort of poked fun. Like, it's like every once in a while you see the guy on the $10,000 mountain bike, but he's got a gut on him.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's a little more bike than you probably need. And I made a little joke. And then he fired back going, what the fuck? Sent me a text or whatever. And I wrote back, okay, sorry. I was making a joke, but I get it. And, sorry. And he wrote back, you're accepted. No problem. Thanks, man. And then he died like 6 months later.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we went out, on good terms.
Well, it's good you cleared it up. Yeah, you're not ready for the rap game at all.
No,
Adam.
I'm not ready for that.
You
Yeah.
wouldn't last a minute. It's beef, and he sends an apology. Come on, Adam.
Worst
You're
kind of
up your
diss
game.
track.
What kind of?
Yeah, I need a diss track.
You sent
Diss
apology
track.
tracks. Well, speaking of shoes, so Donald Trump has unveiled some new high tops.
Yeah.
At the SneakerCon Philadelphia, they're $300, or I'll just say $400, $399, and they're gold. They have the flag on them.
Yeah.
What do
Got
you
a big T. They sold out immediately.
Right. One guy even paid like $9,000 for a pair.
I first off, these things will be worth something. Like I don't think it's a bad investment, especially sneakers and what they're worth. I wouldn't wear them in certain neighborhoods, want to be sensitive. The other thing I always
San Francisco, Berkeley.
there are neighborhoods you wouldn't want to jog through in that with the Trump sneakers on. Also makes you kind of wonder, you don't get to just bespoke build your own sneaker. You got to deal with someone who makes sneakers and then tell them to leave their logo off it and you're going to put your T on it or something. Like you need, when Paul Newman launched his own salad dressing, the reason his bottle looks the same as Ken's Ken's salad dressing is because it is.
Yeah.
Because he went in there and he's like, I wanted to be in a long flute with a long neck and a cork. And Ken's like, we're not retooling our entire fucking line because you got a hair up your ass. You got 3 bottles. Pick one. And his shit is in the Ken's bottle, which is the same as Ken's Steakhouse, so salad dressing or whatever it is. So somebody makes these sneakers. And I don't know how it works. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure it's not Nike, but I'm saying is somebody's got to make the blank.
Right. It's just some little Chinese factory that makes
something.
sneakers.
Yeah, well, they're saying that sneakerheads aren't even going to be into these because it's not associated with Nike or Adidas, like the usual brands.
Sneakerheads are, I can't get in the head of a sneakerhead because I don't understand it. But they're into exclusivity.
Right.
And this is exclusive. And
there's a lot behind this. So you have, like, my personal thing, the best I could say about this is it's going to be something like Billy Beer. Remember Billy Beer?
Sure.
Jimmy Carter's brother. But, the stuff that's going along with it, like that guy on Fox News who said, well, he's making sneakers, so now black people will vote for him. I'm going to go with no. I'm going to go with no. We might look a little beyond the sneakers to make voting choices. It's a Trump thing, right? This is the kind of stuff he does. He puts his name on something. He sells out. He makes a bunch of money. He talks. It gets the news cycle going and this and that. And that's just it's what he does. I mean,
is he sneakers now? He said he has a mug shot. Like he's trying to get the
mug shot on the it's.
Yeah, Hillary's got Tabasco in her purse. He's got a mugshot.
Right,
Come on, black people, let's go.
Yeah, it fits. It fits his brand. It fits what he does. But
and he ends up getting $2 billion.
No sneakerheads are buying it. Trump people are buying it. Trump fans are buying these. They bought them out, and now they'll have the like you said, the aftermarket or whatever. They're paying thousands of dollars for them, and it is what it is, man. Whatever.
I think they'll be worth something in a few years. And I don't know. I don't know. I'll take your word for the sneakerhead part.
Oh, no, but no, sneakerheads, me and my buddies joke about it all the time. Back in the 80s, if we knew then what we know now, we'd have each bought 50 pair of Jordans, right? We wore Jordans and we played basketball in them. Like we wore them out. Yeah. We didn't know that, these are going to be, an original pair would be worth thousands and thousands of dollars.
Same with guys in guitars.
Yeah, anything like that. You don't know.
And cars.
You don't know. Right. They're always trying to figure that out, right? What car is coming out now that's going to be worth a fortune in 50 years? And other than a few cars that are can't miss, they're not often right. You know what I mean? Like,
it's always about limited production. Everything's got to be limited.
My first car was a 67 Camaro small block V8 with a rock crusher, and
4-speed.
Yeah, and I bought it in 1980 for like $3,500.
Right.
And now what it would be worth 10 times that or something like that.
But the Camaros are going up fast.
Yeah, but back then, you know what it was? It was a used car.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, I tried to do a radio show with Jimmy Kimmel a million years ago, and the program director's like, he's not talent. He's producer. He's a behind-the-scenes guy, but he ain't an on-air guy. So a lot of people have missed a lot of stuff.
A lot of people have missed. I've often missed. Just once I'd like to hit, but I've missed.
I would argue you've won in life, though.
No, I'm happy. I've done well. But the one car, and it's not the value, it's the actual car. The one car that I sold I always regret was I had an 88 930 Turbo. And again, it was at a time when it was a used Porsche. It wasn't, the air-cooled classic that it is now. And I always regretted selling that car.
Going
up.
At
the time, it was a used car.
Yeah, they're going up fast. Mm-hmm. I remember Walter Payton's son sold his 88. What year? 87? Then it was a air-cooled 930.
930 turbo. 79.
Oh, his was a 79?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's
real early.
Yeah, that was really early.
Those are going up a lot too. But anyway, he sold it, and his dad died. Obviously, Sweetness died, and gave it to him, and said, and he did. My whole thing is when you sell your parents' shit, feel free to sell it. Don't give me the speech about how important it is to you,
right?
Because you're selling the shit. I bought houses. First 3 houses I bought were from kids of parents who died. And they gave me the whole speech, and I'm like. And, like I'd go, well, I'll come in here and I'll paint it this color. And they'll go like, you're going to paint it? And I'd be like, don't sell the house then. If you want to honor your dad's memory, then don't fucking sell the shit. Or sell it and shut up.
Have you reached a level of fame that a used car from you is worth more because you owned it?
Oh.
Do they sell if this is an Adam Carolla car?
I don't think so, but I will say that in the car world, they try it all the time. They go, this is Paul McCartney's Daytona Ferrari. This is Rod Stewart's Lamborghini Miura. Never gets a nickel more than a standard Miura or standard Daytona, which is weird because it was John Lennon's whatever, fill in the blank. It never does it if they're not car people. It doesn't work. Now, Steve McQueen has a snot rocket he blew onto a napkin in 1967 when they were filming a Bullet, and that thing goes for $1 million. Anything Steve McQueen. So you have to have some association with cars other than being you don't get to be a bigger star than Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney's Ferrari doesn't get an extra nickel, which is weird, but those are sort of the rules in the car world for some reason. They try. They try every time. They'll do it with the Ringo Starr owned this Bentley. They try hard. Rod Stewart has had all the cool shit, when he was coming up. And when his shit sells, it's always Rod Stewart's car. And there's a picture of him with his dog and the Miura out front in England in the countryside or something. Never gets a fucking nickel more. So
I wonder how you think
weird.
it might work with someone like Nick Mason from Pink Floyd, who...
Yeah, because he's a rock guy, but he also has his bona fides with the cars. I think Nick Mason's stuff would go for more.
Then again, when you think about it, it's a very high value object is this car. The monetary value on it is so high that the car is worth more than any amount of fame associated with it in the Paul McCartney case. And
it can always be more. The risky business... 928 Porsche sold for like $1.8 million. That's a $40,000 car.
Yeah.
They've gone up a little. It could be 40 to 110 or something. That from the movie.
But it's a famous car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting thing that Byron put on our screen. 67 Chevy Camaro in perfect condition is worth up to $632,000, which is not correct at all. But it must be some story about somebody has a zero mileage one that was found in a barn or something.
That's the same website that says my personal net worth is $14 million, which I'm still looking for.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Byron. Alonzo's going to kill himself.
There is no Camaro that's worth $6. Now, there could be a Ring Brothers Camaro that they did something on that sold for $600K.
Which one was Bumblebee?
When I was doing 101 cars, we had a guy in Florida who had a super value Camaro because it was a 66, which was the prototype year. It wasn't production started in 67, so he had a 66.
So that's the rarity coming in.
That's worth a lot of money. But even that, I don't know, $500,000 for a Camaro. Yeah, it would have to be the original Bumblebee, and they'd have to only have been one. That's the other thing with movie cars. They make 6 of them because they know they're going to crash. So you got to get the one that was the picture car.
The hero car.
Yeah, the hero car.
Cher just had an auctioning officer, and she put up her Bentley, and it went for $212.
Now that's
what year?
05.
That's a lot.
That's more. That's more than one would go for.
But I would bet her dress. She has a dress that would go for more than that.
Yeah.
Oh, probably. But yeah, I mean, this is not a car person buying this, right?
Right.
It's on
a
her.
Cher fan.
It's a Cher fan.
Yeah. This
A
is
rich sheriff fan.
This is a gay man whose partner passed away tragically recently, leaving him quite a bit of cash, flush. Yeah, I mean, no one was happy to see Ernie go, but he did leave behind quite a
We'll
bit
fight
of
with him
cash.
every time we drive the Bentley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of shoes, so there's a Missouri teenager who, he's 16 years old, he's 6'5", he weighs 380 pounds, and he wears a size 23 shoe.
Wow.
So because of the size of his feet, his mom has trouble finding shoes that fit him. They have to get him custom made. It costs him thousands of dollars.
So I heard Sandra Bullock just adopted him.
That could be good. Well, then good for him. He might have a better chance of finding shoes. Well, so somebody heard about this and sent him a ton of shoes. Who had this problem as well?
Shaq.
Shaq.
Shaq
Yeah,
always
Shaq's
does this.
been famous for doing that forever. He's done that for a lot of giant kids. He's bought them suits and stuff like that. He's genuine. I've never met him, but everything I've heard, he's genuinely a good guy.
It seems like that,
I've
yeah.
heard about him paying, like he'll be at a store and he'll pay everyone's bill when he's checking out, and just general stuff like that. Like, he seems to be genuinely good. But I did hear that story, and he's done that for other big, because when you're that big, yeah, you can't go to, Target.
Right.
You can't go to Foot Locker and say, I need a size 23 or whatever.
Or
Trump
the
doesn't make
name.
him that big.
The name of the big and tall store I wanted to open, but I've never really found the right spokesperson. But Alonzo, you could be at, how's this for a name for a big and tall place? Big Sur. And the front's just a big sequoia tree. A big, strong redwood trees
Not a
up
bad
front.
idea.
Right.
Big Sur. Man.
I have no business in there, but I
But
would appreciate
Alonzo,
it
you could
existing.
be the
I'll tell you-
spokesperson for it.
I'll tell you the problem with big and tall stores, because there used to be a chain called Rochester they had good stuff. But the problem was every big guy was wearing the same clothes, because we all had to, you all had to go to the same store, right?
Right.
So everybody's like, oh man, yeah, I got that suit. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
that suit too. Oh, I got that suit. That was the
very limited.
downside. It was a nice store. They were in Beverly Hills. They had nice clothes, designer stuff, this or that. But yeah, we're all wearing the same stuff.
This guy, I mean, he's got to play football, right? I mean, you got to get size 24 cleats.
Yeah.
I would hope so. He's very big.
I think he's a football player. I think this story was out about this guy.
All right.
Yeah, but his mom had to start a GoFundMe to raise funds to buy him to get him clothes. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, back in the old days, he'd have just shown up for football in overalls with no shoes on.
Right.
Right? He'd have just shown up at football practice, and they'd have taken it from there.
right.
Jesus, size 24. He better have a big dick, because it's going to have a lot of disappointed customers.
That'd just be
Shaq sent him the.
that's
But
just
he's
be
not going
God's
to.
sense of humor. Right
He's
there.
not going to stop at 24, right? He's
16.
still going.
He can still have a growth spurt.
Yeah, he might.
Yeah.
He might. Well, the NFL already knows this guy, right? This guy, Alabama's probably already recruited him. They're probably already paying him.
Adam, you got to teach him how to long snap. Be set for life.
Yeah.
He's too big to long snap. Long
No,
snappers have a build. and
He's a left tackle.
He's too big.
He's a left tackle.
Also, there's a story about Joe Biden's dog, his German Shepherd Commander. And the report is 23 incidents of biting. Secret Service. Just he's been
At
hard
what
to
point
control.
did they say, listen, Joe, we're going to let the dog protect you?
Yeah.
The dog is obviously.
Yeah, White House staff, Navy staff.
There's
he's-
probably conversations with Secret Service, okay, we got to put him down. And they're like, okay, what about the dog? What do we do with the dog?
Hasn't there? But didn't he have one dog that they already sent back to his home? Like he had
He's
more
had an
than
incident
one
with
dog.
a previous dog, yeah.
Yeah. So look,
Needs
either
Cesar
the
Chavez
dog
over there.
either the dog protects him. They got to say, look, either the dog protects you or the dog's got to go. One or the other. You can't have 23 agents.
You know what I don't get? There's a lot of stuff I don't get about Biden, but one thing I really don't get, and Chris looked it up, he's been in Delaware or wherever on vacation 80 times in his first 3 years in the White House, right? Now, I don't even know if I've been to Delaware, if I've taken a train through Delaware. I get Maui, and I get if you're Obama or Oprah or something, you got some acreage over there in Maui, wanting to sort of sneak off and hang out as much. Delaware, not so much. But you live in the White House, and it's big, it's sprawling, you got a bowling alley, you can get first-run movies, anything you want to see from Hollywood, you can do that. You have servants and chefs, and why are you ducking out? Like, I get it. You got a shitty roommate. You're in Valley Village. You want to you can't think. You know what I mean? Your futon's busting your back. You know what I mean? You're in the White House. Why escape every single weekend to go to Delaware? And is there something we don't know? Like, is there conversations that are being had in Delaware that aren't comfortable to be had in the White House? Or White House... I've toured the White House. It's magnificent. It's a fucking White House. The best. Look, anyone can live in Delaware. Not everyone gets to live in the White House. Like if someone said, look, you're going to be president for 4 years, maybe 8 years, but probably 4 years. I'm going to spend as much time as humanly possible in this White House because this chance ain't coming again. And there's only a handful of Americans that can call this place home. I mean, 53, 54. Whatever it is he 55?
No, he's 47.
Oh, sorry, 40.
46.
46. All right, sorry. He's 46. That's how many people have ever lived here. Could all fit onto one school bus. I'm not going anywhere. And I just ring a bell and I get a Denver omelet and I'm going to go down and watch whatever Scorsese's film that hasn't got to the theater yet with Scorsese. Then I'm doing that. And I would never leave. So what's in Delaware?
Well, to be fair, the people that run our country find it easier to do when Biden's not around.
Ooh, conspiracy
So they
theory.
push him off
They
to
send him
Delaware.
off?
Yeah.
I don't think it's any more than I want to be home. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've traveled all your life in work, and you've stayed in the nicest hotels and resorts and stuff like that. But there comes a point where you're like, you know what? I just want to go home. I had someone ask me, where do you go on vacation? I was like, my living room. Like that's and my place. I don't, it's not a mansion or anything like that.
But I'm saying
I would rather,
the White House, I would hang out.
I think anything gets old.
You know how you hate it when the cleaning lady comes over in your home?
I hate it.
I'm sure the White House, you're having tourists, you're having...
Well, they don't come to the home part, but you're also limited. You're also so limited in what you can do. Like it's your house, but you can't go in that room. You can't go visit.
I heard there was a bowling. I heard there was a bowling alley.
Never mind with Adam then.
Spares.
There's a bowling alley.
I'd invite a bunch of people to come bowl with me in my bowling alley.
Tournaments.
Yeah, and then the dog gets loose, and now you got
now we got
15 lawsuits. 15 lawsuits.
All right. Let's see. Dr. Phil McGraw is going to be joining us, or joining me, I should say, in a second. Alonzo, go to alonzobodden.com for all the live shows.
Thank you, sir.
And always great to see you, my friend. And we'll talk to Dr. Phil right after this. Well, good news. It's O Rewards bonus points month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Shop in the store, do it online to receive points and get rewards sent straight to your phone or inbox. Get 2, 3, 4, even 5 times bonus points on select purchases. Receive bonus points on select items throughout the store like wiper blades, antifreeze, coolant, parts cleaner, motor oil, and more. Those bonus points can help get you to your next rewards even faster. You'll receive a $5 reward for every 150 O Reward points to use on your next in-store or online purchase. Members can check points and rewards online anytime. If you're already an O Rewards member and not receiving your rewards, just add an email address or mobile phone number. Get a $10 reward for updating your existing account. If you're not an O Rewards member yet, signing up is easy, quick, and simple. Just do it online at O'ReillyAuto.com or in-store at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The Adam Carolla Show presents Dr. Phil McGraw's birthday cocktail party for September 1st. Let's see who's invited. The German composer who gave us Canon in D, Johann Pachelbel. Let's welcome the business tycoon and railroad executive from the Central Pacific Railroad, Mark Hopkins. Here's the author of Tarzan of the Apes, Edgar Rice Burroughs. The announcer for the Jack Benny Show is here, Don Wilson. Let's welcome the undefeated world heavyweight champion from Brockton, Mass., Rocky Marciano. It's American country singer Conway Twitty. Attorney Alan Dershowitz is here. Lily Tomlin just joined the party. From the Bee Gees, it's Barry Gibb. Martial artist Billy Blanks is here. So is Gloria Estefan. Here's the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams. And let's tighten up from Archie Bell and the Drells, Archie Bell. Dr. Phil is on the Adam Carolla Show.
Good to see you, Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil's got a book out. We've got Issues, How You Can Stand Strong for America's Soul and Sanity. It is out as we speak, and it's available wherever you find finer books. And we can also get into his new multimedia platform as well, Merritt Street. Good to see you, Dr. Phil.
Good to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I think I join you and everyone who's older than 45 who played high school football, who wants to know what the hell is going on in this country. Because I have these conversations with Dr. Drew all the time. Is it us being old and we're missing something, or is this just sort of insanity and we're the sane ones? What's your take on that?
I think it's insanity and we're the sane ones. I really do. And I'll tell you why. I think a lot of what's being pushed right now in the narrative has nothing to support it, nothing to back it up. We're making up new words. We're making up new history. We're rewriting classics. We're teaching kids the way the world doesn't work. It just seems to me that people are trying to reinvent what made this country into what it is, and that's not going to work. And I'm afraid that people are going to wake up too late if somebody doesn't say something about it. But people don't want to say anything about it because they're afraid of getting criticized, canceled, censored, all of that. It's crazy. It's just craziness to me.
But on a happier note, every reaction creates a reaction, or I should say, action creates a reaction. And voices like your own, voices like Joe Rogan, voices like Tucker Carlson, half the people on Substack, many of the doctors that they attempted to cancel and so on and so forth, have now all found a platform to share their ideas where historically they would have been on someone else's platform and ostensibly playing by their rules, and there is an awakening that's going on, and I guess I would call this sort of resurgence of sane people, and they're not being able to be silenced anymore. And you're hearing from guys like Elon Musk, it's voices like that are being created through the craziness, and I think they're starting to cut through the fog.
I think you're right that there's a pushback at this point. I think some of this has been, I think some of these, what I call tyranny of the fringe, have pushed so far and so hard that finally a lot of kind of mainstream America has been awakened and said, oh, wait a minute. Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. I was kind of minding my own business over here. And now it's like my grandmother used to say, you quit preaching and gone to meddling now. You've gotten way over into my lane. And, I look at it in terms of language. I'm real big on words. I think words have a lot of power. For example, I'll hear people sometimes be talking about their day, and they say, oh, my God, it was just horrible. It was just horrible. Well, what happened? Well, the car picked me up 15 minutes late, and then I got over there, and So and so said this. Well, wait a minute. No, that was annoying. That's not horrible. Go down to the children's burn unit and see a 10-year-old down there with full death burns over 80% of their body. That's horrible. You getting picked up 15 minutes late was not horrible. I mean, and that's an extreme example, but my point is words have a lot of baggage to them sometimes. And so we've gotten now where, we have the First Amendment, which says that the government won't pass any laws that step on our ability to have free speech. It's not the government. We're doing it to ourselves. We're muzzling ourselves. We've got all of these rules about, well, you can't say this word, you can't say that word. And then we've got all of this inclusive speech. I was looking at something the other day. They don't have the Office of Admissions anymore at a lot of universities because if you say admissions, that suggests somebody could be rejected and they don't want to hurt any young people's feelings. So now it's Office of Enrollment Management.
Right.
Are you kidding me? And some of the Justice Department, instead of, you can't say felon anymore. Now it's justice involved person. So you didn't have a family member murdered. You had someone that got involved with a justice involved individual. That wasn't a murder. That was a justice involved individual. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Well, some of it, a lot of it is intentional and there's an agenda. And so if you would have said a few years ago, as we referred to people in this country who came over the border without documents, we called them illegal aliens. And so if somebody said to most Americans, do you think an illegal alien should be removed or not let in to your society, then most people would go, yes, I do not want an illegal alien. And then at some point, they became undocumented aliens, and then you went, oh, okay, well, maybe he left his papers in the glove box of his Chevy Malibu before he crossed the border. And then it turned into nobody's illegal, no human being's illegal. These are undocumented workers and undocumented American workers. And now we're in some sort of zone where you've twisted and contorted the language so much so that I would have to be an evil person to say, I don't want illegal aliens in our country, but you're saying I don't want undocumented American workers in our country. And it's the same with anything to do with women. You go, well, I'm against abortion or I want limits on abortion, but it's not pro-abortion and against abortion. It's now a woman's right to make her own decisions about her health care. And it's like, how could you take a stand saying I'm against a woman's right to make her own decisions about her own health care? But if they twist it hard enough, that's what happens. And that's what's effective. That obviously they're doing it. It works. Well,
that's what I think is getting pushback now, because I think one of the things I've seen, and this is one of the things that got me up and in arms and got me to write "We've Got Issues," because nobody was willing to talk about some of this. And I'm looking at what's happening at the universities. Most of the universities, and I'm not going to cite a specific percentage because I don't remember exactly what it was, but the vast majority of universities report that they have used trigger warnings. A trigger warning where they say, okay, we're going to alert you if there's upsetting content in this course or in this book we're asking you to read or study, or in this curriculum. We're going to give you a warning because you could be triggered by this. Hell, I saw the other day they give a trigger warning for Romeo and Juliet. And the trigger warning was you could be triggered for suicide. Well, why don't you give the ending away? I mean, spoiler alert, you just ruined the whole thing for a generation that had read Romeo and Juliet. But here's my problem with this. trigger warnings don't work. There's a whole body of literature about trigger warnings that say not only do trigger warnings not work, they actually create harm. The trigger warning creates anxiety and depression and all kinds of emotional responses themselves. They create what they're trying to avoid. Now, I know that because I've read the literature. In fact, it says it's counterproductive to do that because what you should do is teach young people coping skills, coping strategies, because when you get out into the world, you're not going to be able to avoid this stuff. So there are evidence-based treatments for this sort of thing. Even if you have PTSD, you do systematic desensitization, you do dialectic behavioral therapy, you do cognitive behavior therapy, you do things where they learn to cope with this rather than avoid it because it's unavoidable. Now, these universities have access to the same literature that I have access to, which means they know that these trigger warnings don't work, but yet they continue to do it. Why? Because they're virtue signaling. They're trying to send out, hey, we're woke, we're tuned into this, we're very sensitive, and we're telling you that by using these trigger warnings, even though they damn well know they don't work, even though they know they don't prepare the student for the real world, even though they know they create harm. They continue to do them, even though they've got access to the same literature that I have access to. Now, tell me how is that in the student's best interest? I think it's going to lead to a bunch of people getting sued because they get out in the world and they weren't prepared for the next level.
Well, you know, and I know because we had backgrounds in football that there's just no shortcuts. Life is life. You need to prepare people. You know, the idea is to build some calluses up on the bottom of your feet so you can walk around barefoot without screaming at the top of your lungs, not wrap your feet in bubble wrap and attempt to navigate this world in your bare feet, because eventually the bubble wrap's coming off and the kid's going out of the house and it's going to be a real painful life with no calluses, nothing built up on the bottom to protect themselves. It's important. It's the same with Purell and sanitize and sterilize everything. There's more allergies. There's more food allergies. There's more allergic to peanuts and asthma and everything else, because in our attempt to put a helmet and bubble wrap on every kid, we've actually weakened them. We've weakened their immune system. We've weakened them emotionally, spiritually. We're doing real harm to these people. And I know, and you bring up data, and I always wonder, and I know very recently you got a little dust up with the ladies from The View when you were talking about COVID and hurting children and shutting down schools and the detrimental effects of that. And they pushed back, obviously, because they've been beating the COVID drum nonstop for 3 years. Do they not have access to the data?
Well, that's the whole thing. There are some people that just decide that they want to discard science, discard data, and make up reality the way they want it to be. And I was on The View, and I brought that up, and they said, well, are you saying that children didn't die because of COVID? You were sitting there. You heard what I said. You know damn well I didn't say that. What I said was that the mismanagement of COVID creates more problems for these children than the actual virus itself did. The children were not susceptible to this virus at the same level as adults, elderly people, those with compromised immune systems. That's what I said. You know that's what I said when I was speaking. And so you want to reframe that and try to say that I said something I didn't say. So I made it very clear. No, I didn't say that. What I said was the mismanagement of COVID created more problems for these children. And I gave the example of the fact that when we shut the schools down and took away the important support system for these kids in their development of education, emotion, socialization, that we also abandoned them a lot of children that were being physically or sexually abused, we actually abandoned them to their abusers, locked them up behind closed doors, and referrals to Department of Child and Family Services and Child Protective Services dropped as much as 50%, which means mandated reporters at school, teachers, coaches, cafeteria workers, counselors, didn't have their eyes on these children to spot the red flags and report it to the agencies. The molestation and abuse didn't drop that much, only the reporting dropped that much. So we sent them home and locked them up with their abusers. Nobody seemed to think about that ahead of time. And we know that at the time they shut the schools down for COVID, we were having these kids reporting the highest levels of anxiety, depression, loneliness, and suicidality that has ever been recorded since they started keeping records. And you know who keeps those records? The same people that shut the schools down. So they damn well knew it, and they did it anyway. And what they say about that is, well, we did the best we could with what we knew at the time. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You knew better when you did it, and you did it anyway.
Well, we have a 30-second clip of that exchange, so I think we'll play that, and then we'll get into thoughts.
When they shut it down, they stopped the mandated reporters from being able to see children that were being abused and sexually molested, and in fact sent them home and abandoned them to their abusers.
There was also a pandemic going on, and they were trying to save
kids' lives. Remember, we know a lot of folks who died during this, so it wasn't, people weren't laying around eating bonbons.
Are you saying no school children died of COVID?
I'm saying it was the safest group, and they suffered and will suffer more from the mismanagement of COVID than they will from the exposure to COVID. And that's not an opinion, that's a fact.
Big applause break.
Big applause. So this is interesting because they always do this thing where they go, you saying nobody died of COVID? Like they always do that, or no kids died of COVID, first off. I am saying statistically, they are in the vast minority. I don't know. I mean, there's a couple of things they perpetuate. It's like how many unarmed black men are shot by police officers every year. And then you go, I don't know, maybe between 8 and 20 every year. And then they go, you're saying no unarmed black man? It's like no one is saying no to anything ever because it's impossible statistically for it to be zero. We're saying you had the data, which they definitely did. They hide. There's two things they do. They go, you saying nobody died? That's their one argument. The other is, we didn't know anything back then. I have two answers. Yes, you did. And number two, if you didn't know anything, then what were you doing?
Yeah, you should never shut those schools down without a plan to reopen them. And you damn sure knew that those young children were not as susceptible to that disease. And the epidemiological people, the pediatric epidemiologists will tell you that how they managed that at the time probably cost anywhere between 5 million and 13 million years of life lost. Wow. Because of how they handled that. And why? Because there will be less educational attainment because they fell behind. With less educational attainment, they will get less sophisticated jobs, which means they'll have less. First off, there'll be more risky jobs, more blue collar, so they'll get injured or killed on the job than if they were working in an office. They'll have a lower standard of health care, which means diseases will be diagnosed later in the disease progression than it might have been otherwise. Treatment will not be as intense as it might have been, so diseases will progress and take more lives. There's just a whole host of factors that will cost these children a reduced life expectancy. And when you take that and multiply it across 50 plus million school children in just the public schools, then it's not hard to get to that millions of years of life lost.
So here's the question I've been asking more and more people recently, which is how much of this is ineptitude and how much of it is by design. I knew it was about the kids about 8 days into COVID. So I figured this whole thing out, and the way I figured it out is I follow patterns, and I listened to a lot of talk radio, and they were giving deaths. They were talking about deaths from COVID, and they would say a man from Arleta, California died of COVID, and a woman died in Pasadena of COVID, but they weren't giving me the ages of the people. And I knew this was a pattern break because they would always give ages if they were talking about car accidents or someone got trapped under a falling tree. They would say a 75-year-old man from Arleta. But I didn't get ages. So I knew something was up. And then I very quickly figured out they were trying to scare everybody because a pandemic that claims the elderly and people who have multiple pre-existing conditions does not scare the public sufficiently. Kids, that's what scares the public. Kids scare the moms, and the moms make the policy at the house. So they knew that they couldn't have told us at the very beginning, look, this doesn't look good if you're old, it doesn't look good if you're obese, and it doesn't look good if you have diabetes. But if you're young and you're thin and you're healthy, it's probably not a big deal. They bent over backwards to keep that information away from us, and they must have had that data early. And I don't know how much was a conspiracy or, again, just a fiduciary duty gone wrong.
Well, we know that there were physicians and researchers that had insights that just absolutely got shut down. They got taken off of social media. They got shut down in terms of their research being distributed, getting out there. There were doctors at Stanford that are respected medical researchers that had this information. And all of a sudden, they just got blacklisted. They weren't able to get that information out there. And when you run afoul of people that have the agenda, then all of a sudden the algorithm or whoever's running it chokes it down. I put up a video recently after a visit I made to the border. And it's just a short video clip that I put up, and it was going viral like wildfire. And for like 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden it just went dark. It just went zero. I mean, it's getting views like crazy, and then all of a sudden, just goes to zero. Now, how does that happen? That pattern doesn't make sense. It's not like, well, everybody that was interested in watching this watched it in 15 minutes and then it just quit. Doesn't happen. So this algorithm and these people controlling things that they want out or don't want out will just turn the hose off, and you just simply can't get it out there.
I know, and now comically, these people are the ones who want a bureau of misinformation, and they want to anoint a misinformation czar so that they can tell us what is right after being wrong about all things COVID for 2.5 years. They're now going to be in charge of defining the truth, which is now we're getting into sort of Orwellian, laughable, upside-down world mode with these people.
Yeah. What did Orwell call it? The Ministry of Truth or whatever? And, by the way, he wrote that book in 1948. How prophetic was that? He wrote that in 1948, and then here we are in 2023, and they called it, you would get, if you said things you weren't supposed to say in that book, you were unpersoned. Right. Now we call it canceled.
Yes. It's very, very prescient. And I know also, I think where these, so here's how all these things work. We're just starting to put our head up for some air in the trans movement, for instance. So it starts, trans movement, all things COVID, BLM, defund the police. It all starts in this way of, if you say one thing that flies in the face with their conventional thoughts on this, you will be destroyed. So everyone lays low, and then you sit and listen to them lie, where they explain, the suicidal rate amongst the trans who weren't able to trans is much higher than. They're essentially lying. They lie about everything, and then everyone is scared, and so they don't say anything, and then they count heavily on it, and then they go about their work, and at some point, a few people start raising their voice, and then at some point, it becomes a chorus. And I don't think the trans movement is any different than COVID. They got to say whatever they wanted to say and fudge whatever facts and statistics they wanted to fudge for a period of time, and now it's been too long, and the data's not supporting them. Insane people are starting to speak without fear.
Well, and it's about time. And look, you can. I've been called, I'm sure, transphobic and racist and everything you can say, because if you ask questions. And God forbid you disagree, but if you even ask questions, then that's just simply not tolerated. But the fact of the matter is that we're at a point where we have to get, and that was my point. I didn't want to write another book. I did not want to write another. It's a lot of work. And I've written 9 before, and I didn't want to write a 10th one. And it turned out to be my longest one. Because there was a lot to say. But I felt like somebody does have to raise their hand and talk about this. And, Adam, when I started Dr. Phil in 2002 with the help of Oprah, there would be no Dr. Phil if it wasn't for Oprah. I can't give her enough credit. But when I started in 2002, the first text message had never even been sent. Just look how much has changed in that amount of time. And I had to change with the times as things evolved, as things progressed. I had to change with the times. In 08, 09, that's when the smartphone came out, and everything changed at that point. And now I'm seeing all of these social issues, the letters that we get, not letters, emails that we get from people saying, look, I need help with this. I'm still dealing with real people, real challenges, looking for real solutions. That's why I'm launching Merit Street Media on April 2nd. That's why I wrote We've Got Issues. People need a place to go to get the facts, whether it's about transgender, whether it's about COVID, whether it's about language, whether it's about what's happening with the police, whether it's about education and what's happening in the universities. People need to have a place that they can go and get the facts and make up their own mind. Maybe they disagree with me. That's okay. And I invite people to fact check me because I've got a brain room that does all this research and tells me where things are before I ever write them down or put them on the show. And if they're not right, I don't say them. And if I say it and it's not right and they screwed up, then tell me and I'll change it. But I'm just dealing with the facts. You can't rewrite history. You can't rewrite biology. You can't rewrite science. It is what it is and has been for hundreds of years. And you're not going to change it just because you decide you want it to be different.
Yeah, and most of the stuff comes down to something your dad or your grandfather would think, or grandmother, or anybody who lived before us, which is it doesn't pass the smell test, Yeah. How can it be that so many people are trapped in the wrong body, and they all seem to be from the West Coast or the East Coast? They all live in a blue state, and they're all between the, ages of 13 and, all right, sorry. I'm sorry, someone's just stepping into the studio that they got up. They'll monitor. That's fine. They're all between the ages of 14 and 21. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, it certainly doesn't add up to the patterns. Now, they will tell you that those numbers are changing now because they feel safe talking about it. But it's interesting, they contradict themselves because I say there's a contagion effect here. that they see this happening with others, and so they say, well, okay, then I can talk about it. And they say, no, there's not a contagion effect here. I say, well, then what do you mean that they feel safe seeing others talk about it? Well, which is it? There's a contagion effect that they now feel safe talking about it, or there's not a contagion effect that they now feel safe talking about it. It can't be both. It's either it is or it isn't. And look, when I say I think that some of these agendas have been pushed too hard, too long, I think there's a lot of people out there that say, look, if you feel that you're transgender and that's how you want to live, who am I to tell you how you should live? That's fine. If that's what you want to do, then do that. But these activists are not satisfied with that. So they say, no. It's not okay that you're okay with me doing what I want to do. You have to stand up and declare that that is the way to live, that that's acceptable, that that's okay, that you endorse that there's a new science. It's not enough that you just live and let live. You get to do what you want to do and I get to do what I want to do. I require that you stand up and make a declaration that I'm right and you're wrong, that we define it differently now than we have for hundreds of years. And I think that's where they push too far, too hard, too long.
Yeah, well, it's always a part where you have to declare and cheer for the movement, whatever,
right?
LGBT, Black Lives Matter, whatever the actual movement is, you need to cheer for it. And that's what always makes me a little bit suspicious, because they always start off by saying, we just want the same rights everyone else has, and we want to be left alone and go about our business. And you go, fine, go about your business. And then they go, no, you need to stand up and cheer for our business. Yeah. And that's what makes me realize that they transcend activist and move into a sort of agitator role. And I think enough people are sufficiently agitated now where the people that may have supported them feel less apt to support them.
Well, I think that's right. And I know what I know, and I know what I think, and I'm not a hater. I don't hate anybody. I've been down a lot of roads in my life and a lot of different ways to go about doing things. I don't hate anybody. I wish everybody success and everybody happiness. So when somebody comes along and says I'm phobic this or hater about that, I know you're just running an agenda, because I know me and I know that ain't right. And it's too bad, because I think they alienate a lot of potential allies at one level with people by trying to push everybody to another level.
Yeah, I will say this as we wrap this up. I stopped a long time ago even prefacing my opinions with, I have no hatred in my heart for the gay community or the Hispanic community or the LG, trans. Everyone sort of sets up their statement with, I have a gay brother. His name is Harold. He was invited for Thanksgiving. This is the trap they set for us. There is no history of me doing anything to any group we've spoken of, or putting my hands on a woman, or being a misogynist, or firing somebody because of their sexual proclivities or color of skin. I'm done explaining myself before I make my reasonable argument in the other direction. It goes without saying that Dr. Phil and Adam Carolla are not xenophobic, misogynist, haters of the LGBT community. It's insane that we even have to say it, which is part of their trick. You have to make these proclamations. I'm done. I just make my proclamation now. You can check the record if you think I'm homophobic.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and that's why I wrote the book. And I put forth in there, I know we got to stop, but I put forth in there 10 principles that I think are really critical to having a healthy society. And one of them is that we need to focus on solving problems rather than winning arguments. And I am really tired of a bunch of right fighters trying to win an argument. instead of sitting down and trying to solve problems. And that's not semantics. There's a big, big difference between trying to win an argument and actually solve a problem. And we've just got people in charge of problem solving that aren't really motivated to solve the problem, because then their agency goes away, their bureaucracy goes away, their job goes away. We need to start solving problems instead of winning arguments. I think that's a great place to start.
Well, the book is called We've Got Issues. It's available as we speak. And, of course, we'll be keeping our eyes open and looking out for Merit Street Media, which is going to be Dr. Phil's new media venture.
Our very own Dr. Drew held this book up earlier today and says, I agree with every single word in this book.
Yes. So from one doctor to another. Always great to see you, Phil.
Good to see you guys. Take care. Thanks for talking to me.
All right. You can go to AdamCarolla.com for all the live shows. Until next time, it's Adam Carolla for Dr. Phil McGraw and Alonzo Bodden saying mahalo.